Hey people, it is Tuesday, December the 28th, and the time is 11:54 in the morning, and the temperature is 2 degrees Celsius, but feeling quite a bit cooler than that for some reason. And I'm here at the corner of Bay Street and College Street. And I thought for today, I would just walk up and down some of the downtown side streets that run between Bay Street and Church Street, perpendicular, crossing Yonge Street. So I'll be avoiding the main streets downtown and trying to walk along some of the often ignored streets that you wouldn't really go down unless you had a reason, such as you lived on them or worked on them. And I have to say, it's fairly quiet downtown right now. Seems a bit quieter than it should be. I think a lot of people are still on their Christmas breaks. Not everyone has gone back to work yet. So that's looking straight north up Bay Street. But what we're going to do is we're going to hang a right here onto Grenville Street. And here's the backside of the Toronto Police Headquarters. It fronts onto College Street. So now we're walking east along Grenville Street. This is a sort of, I find it to be a rather cozy little side street, mostly lined with tall buildings, with a mix of some older buildings and newer condos. There's a proposal here for some new affordable residential units in the form of 2 towers. And I think that is going to be getting underway fairly soon. And you can see they've incorporated this old historic facade into this kind of bland apartment building. That's an older apartment building itself. And that's an interesting looking retail store across the street, the podium of this condo. Is that a cafe of some sort? I guess it is an eatery. From across the street I thought it was a retail store, but I don't see the name of it. Oh, here it is, right here. Restaurant and wine bar. And I think we've got a live one down there. And this old historic house is currently for sale. Although it's part of this condominium building now. They actually relocated this house from its original location, which was just right nearby, to incorporate it into the base of this condo tower. The John Irwin House, 1873. It's nice to see that they preserved some history. They've done that a number of times with other developments. That guy's just really having at it over there. And this condo building we're currently passing was more or less completed a couple of years ago, but they only just recently finished installing the new sidewalks around the development. For the longest time they just had a patchwork of crummy looking asphalt in place of the sidewalks, and I was beginning to wonder if they would ever actually finish the job. And it's nice to see they finally did. Makes the street look a little more pleasing. We're just crossing Yonge Street. And this is the condo in question here. Kind of an ugly podium, but I think the tower portion is actually fairly decent. The materials might be a bit on the cheap side, but it is striking, and it does really make itself noticeable when you look at it from a distance. And here the street changes names. It's no longer Grenville Street. It is now Wood Street. So we'll just continue heading east. And on this side of Yonge, we have some of these old 1960s era slab apartment buildings. And over there you can see the Holiday Inn on Carlton Street. And this is another hotel here. This one is slated for redevelopment. That's the courtyard. Or no, this is the courtyard here, actually. So this hotel is slated for redevelopment. But this building on the corner of Yonge and Carlton is actually also slated for redevelopment. Almost every old building downtown is slated for redevelopment in some way or another. I'm not sure where all these people are going with their suitcases. I guess over to the hotel, the Holiday Inn over here. It actually has an entrance here on Wood Street as well. There's an apartment complex on this side, but you can access the hotel. And once upon a time I was considering renting a unit in this apartment complex here. That was about 5 years ago or so. There were 1 bedrooms listed for $1,200 a month. But I didn't do it. I stayed where I currently am. And now those $1,200 1 bedrooms are no longer, obviously. And this here is the backside of Maple Leaf Gardens, the former NHL hockey arena. The Toronto Maple Leafs used to play here. And on the other side is the entranceway to the Loblaws grocery store that you may have seen many times on my channel. You can see the loading area here. So we're approaching Church Street. There's the Hair of the Dog pub. That's a long-standing popular spot to get some drinks and pub fare. And there's a look back, looking west. So we're heading north on Church, but I will be turning left up ahead and heading west on Alexander Street. And we're coming into the Church Wellesley Village. And I think that new residential tower right by Church and Wellesley is just about topped out now. And here's Alexander Wood, the person that Wood Street is named after. I think there's some controversy about this guy, whether or not he deserves to have a statue. As you know, these days, men of his era are finding their statues coming down at a pretty regular rate now. Well, not to mention Alexander Street. Maybe they'll have to rename this street as well. And Wood Street just to the south. And we're passing by the Village on the Green. This series of apartment towers. These are among the first high-rise apartment buildings of this style to be built downtown, beginning in the 1950s. And there's that apartment building I was considering moving to. Would have liked to have gotten a upper floor for some amazing views, but I'll have to just contend with my measly 8th floor view where I live right now, which is still a pretty decent view, to be honest. I just wish it was facing in the other direction. The view from my apartment is facing to the east, away from the main skyscraper cluster downtown. So I'm looking towards the Regent Park neighborhood. And here's the Buddies in Bad Times Theater. Buddies in Bad Times is the largest and longest running queer theater company in North America. Founded in 1979. Approaching Yonge Street again. And this tower is starting to get tall now. Well, it looks like they've unveiled some of the work done on that office tower across the way. It was covered with that white tarp for the longest time, all the way to the top. But now I see they're starting to unveil it. Now we're on Grosvenor St. I'm sure there's many different ways to pronounce that. Toronto Fire Station 314 and the Central YMCA. I've never been inside here. But my sister used to come here and she said it was a very good facility. And this parking garage here will be demolished to make way for that residential project on Grenville Street I mentioned earlier with the affordable rental units. One of the towers will front here on Grosvenor Street, and another tower will front on Grenville Street. I just noticed this complex here is called the Opera Place. And that's notable because at one time this area was slated to be the site of the new Toronto Opera House, but that never came to be. And they ended up building the new Opera House down at the corner of Queen Street and University Avenue, the Four Seasons Center for the Performing Arts. So I think this complex here was either named before they knew that the Opera House would not be locating there, or it was too late for them to change the name. Or they just decided, what the heck, we'll just keep our name, Opera House, Opera Place, even though there's no Opera House. Here, back at Bay Street. And there's that office complex. This is a government office complex. That was built, I think, in the early 1970s. And it's getting a complete overhaul. A multi-million-dollar overhaul. This is Breadalbane Street, another strange street name that might be able to be pronounced in many different ways. It looks like bread, and then with an L-E and a B-A-N-E, so Breadalbane. That's what I'm going to stick with. And that garbage truck is still making a racket over there. I guess that's something that just can't be done quietly. And this new tower, which has just recently been completed, is called Wellesley on the Park. And this is a brand new park that they're in the process of developing here. It's looking like it's coming along. I don't even think it had grass last time I walked past here. So that's a welcome little green space here. And I believe this is the actual site where the Opera House was supposed to go. So they got like some little playground for the kids over here. This is St. Luke Lane. This laneway extends all the way up to Bloor Street. It changes names a few times along the way. And at one time, at one section, it's more like a little street really than a laneway. And I have done some videos where I walk along the length of that. Part of it is currently blocked off, though, due to a new construction site. You have yet another tower that's rising. But I think that will be reopened again once the construction is finished. And we're back at Yonge Street. This area is really rapidly changing with new residential towers. See, here's a notice for another tower here on this site. 45 stories. As long as they retain these older apartment buildings, I think it's nice to have a mix of old and new. That's kind of one of the things that makes Toronto somewhat interesting to many people, is the mix of old and new, often right beside one another. Here we have these older apartment buildings here. And we did have some snow yesterday, as you can see. However, it is going to be gone, I think, in the next day or so. I'm expecting above zero temperatures for the next few days. I think we only got maybe no more than a few centimeters yesterday. It was blowing pretty good, though. It looked like a worse snowfall than it really was. And here we are back at Church Street again. So I think this is where I'm going to wrap things up. So I hope you enjoyed the zigzagging walk along some of the often ignored side streets that run perpendicular to Yonge Street and Bay Street and Church Street. So leave a comment below and let me know your thoughts. If you enjoy this sort of zigzagging type walk through the lesser known streets. And be sure to like and share and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos. And if you'd like to support the channel, there are links in the description where you can do so via PayPal and via my merch store. And you can also find me on Instagram under KContinuum. So thanks for watching, and be sure to keep checking back because, as always, I will continue.